when you make a channel, there's a lot of things they don't tell you about YouTube, and that is video and audio and the complications it is to set up a video. Anyways, here we have another unboxing for you. I'm excited for this one. This is actually more than an unboxing. This is going to be a full review of the Fellow Aiden automatic coffee maker. I have a long story about this, which you are going to get a little into while I film this video. So a few months back, this is currently August 27th. This is the day that the Fellow Aiden has kind of shipped to the household of normal people. About a month and a half or so ago, I was on Instagram, and basically what happened was there was a local coffee shop that managed to get two Fellow Aidens in, posted one on Instagram and said whoever wants it, come buy it. So I bought this thing from a local coffee shop months before it released, and messed around with it and reviewed it. And then what happened was I reached out to Fellow because I was having issues getting it to connect to the app, and that's because the app didn't currently exist to the public. So I found that out, and then Fellow did this crazy thing and they asked for the coffee maker back. So graciously, I sent the coffee maker back in exchange for nothing from Fellow, outside of the fact they just send me a new one when it comes in the mail. So I've actually used this machine, or used the prototype of this machine per se, and now this is the day that I finally get the actual one. So I have a lot of thoughts on this initial machine that I bought, and I have a lot of experience with it. I'm going to review all of that right now outside of the app, because I never have tested the app yet, and I got another video with another comparison coming up soon that involves technology and coffee. So this is the Fellow Aiden. This is basically your one-stop shop for brewing coffee, and this will beat out your pour over per se. So this is like the coffee maker that's like for actual coffee lovers, but it's also the coffee maker for your mom too as well. And what I mean by that is it's something that you can go deep with and tinker around with as much as you want for the coffee lover in your life, but it's also simplistic in a way that anybody can use it, and it's super user friendly. So I'm going to pull out the box here. It has some little claps on the side, and I was really hoping there was a pre-order when you ordered this thing, and you could get it with a couple bags of Onyx coffee. I didn't pre-order this, and I since I bought it locally, but I was really hoping that it would come with the bags of Onyx coffee, just because I was gracious and sent it back without posting content and deleting my YouTube page. Fun fact for you, that YouTube video that I deleted of me unboxing this months ago, by me canceling it, that was the first video on a Friday in 3 years that I did not post, because I sent this back and graciously did not post about it. So anyway, this is the one-stop shop for brewing coffee. In other words, you can make a single cup of coffee all the way to a 50-ounce carafe of coffee for a family or for whoever comes in. And so far, I've had a phenomenal experience with it, outside of having to send it back. But one of the things I also did with it before I sent it back was I compared it with the Xbloom Studio. So you can see the Xbloom Studio's review coming up soon to this channel after this one. But I want to go over the features of this Fellow Aiden first, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts about it. But starting off is, it's a really good machine. I think that's good to know. So it comes with a few things here. It comes with Fellow Drops, which is good coffee that they ship. I don't know what else to say about this. Register your product. It has a SKU number, warranty, all this. These are the single cup cone filters that it comes with, which are like the #2 cone filters that you can buy on Amazon. So they're super cheap, super easy to replace, and you can replace them from the store, which is super nice. Some little reading things, getting to know your fellow. We got some tape all throughout the machine here. Hopefully this sounds okay. I'm switching back mics. I did have a standalone mic, but that required hooking it up to my Mac, and then editing it and then uploading it, and it sounded good, but it just took a lot of time and I wasn't good at audio editing. So I'm hoping this is a simple solution going back to this DJI mic that I used to have. And I want to start off the bat, this feels like literally the exact same thing as the last one that I had. So noted on that, nothing has changed in a good way. Alrighty, let's talk about it. Oh, there's some more accessories in there. I forgot. Inside, am I missing something? There it is. Things are hiding everywhere in here. So if you think you're missing something, check the carafe and check the top of this machine first, and that will kind of go into it. So like I said, this is my initial review of it. This is kind of going off the pre-production model that I had a little bit. So I'm not going to touch on the things that I know that did change on it. So subject to change on a few little things, but nothing crazy, and I felt like I could still really give an honest review about it. So with this machine, you get the machine itself. You get a water tank that is removable on the side here. It's got a nice little handle. It holds 10 cups or 1,500 milligrams of coffee, milliliters of coffee, or whatever you want to call it, which is enough for a lot of coffee, like 4 cups or 5 cups, something like that, depending on how big of a cup you brew. 5 300-gram cups of coffee, which is about 8 ounces or so. It comes with 2 styles of brewers in here. We got the cone style one. This is going to be your single serve brewing, and this one is going to be your batch brewing. So if you're brewing for a lot of people, you're going to want to go with this one. It's got the noticeable dial here on the front that everybody knows and loves from Fellow. This is on their EKG kettle. This is on a lot of the Fellow tally scale, which I don't have. A lot of things on here. Fellow branding on the handle, and a nice LCD screen or LED screen. I don't know. It's the nice one, like kind of the newer ones off the Stag EKG kettles, not the older ones. It's very colorful, very pixelated, very easy and user-friendly to navigate by simply rotating this dial and clicking buttons. Up here, you pop up the top here, and it's got 2 little things here. One is blue indicating for the batch brew, and the other one is green indicating for single serve. So you simply select that by moving that over, and what it's going to happen is it's going to take care of some of the holes and remove them from brewing it to get the best extraction possible for it. So say you want 1 cup here, you just take this little doohickey thing, slap it in. There's only one way this goes, and it automatically knows once this is in here. You shut it, click start, it'll brew your cup of coffee. It's got a stainless steel thing here. I can't remember if this place heats it or not, but it's a stainless steel carafe, and honestly, I don't care if it heats it or not because I don't leave this thing full of coffee all the time. I like brew it and move on, and the stainless steel is going to make it last warm for a while. It's got a nice thick cord. It's got, reminds me of kind of like the Opus backing here with the kind of textured side underneath of it, which is a nice detail that they have here, is it does allow you to wrap up the cord storage. So if this is sitting on a countertop, you don't have to have cables being hidden somewhere, although it's not too big of a deal because of how wide this thing is. It would allow you to hide the cables behind it, but more or less it does a good job here. This actually has a little indication on this, so when you shove it in here, it will allow it to brew or to not brew through the batch brewer. So you're required to have it. Huh. I think I just realized it. I believe I did hear that you could put a thermos underneath of it, and it looks like with this single serve, oh no, never mind, that was just a little stuck here. So once you put this brewer in and you put it underneath it here, it's going to like kind of allow it to be able to drip through it. So when you pull this off to throw it in your sink, it's not going to be dripping coffee through it. So I want to go into usability with this, and I want to go into the quality of the taste of it. I'm not a professional coffee drinker, but I am in my opinion, higher than the average person because I drink a lot of coffee and I review a lot of equipment. So take that for what it's worth. Also, I did pay full price for this, so I do want to put that out. If you made it this far, can you do me a huge favor and please like and subscribe? You're really not going to want to miss out on the comparison between this and the Xbloom Studio. This one comes in at about $365. The Xbloom comes in about $500, but the Xbloom comes with a built-in grinder and a very nice scale on it. So you're really going to want to see how these line up for the best automatic brewer experience at home. Please subscribe. Really helps me out. You have no idea. Also, while you're down there clicking the subscribe button, just go ahead and click a like. Maybe throw in a comment on whether or not you ordered one of these and pre-ordered this and if it's coming to you or not. But anyway, when it comes to usability, one of the things you're not going to see a ton of it here because I'm not going to plug this in for this video, but on the screen, what you simply do is you scroll over, you select brew or instant brew, and it will allow you to put how much coffee do you want. And say I select 12 ounces or 10 ounces of coffee per se, it's going to say I'm going to need about like 18 grams of coffee to get that 10 ounces in my cup. So when I select whatever amount of ounces I want, it's automatically going to tell me the amount of grounds that I need to put in the basket. And then you're going to simply click a button and it is going to brew. And what I'm going to tell you is there's 3 different profiles that it has installed in it: light, medium, and dark. My first brew that I brewed with this thing a couple months ago on that light roast, absolutely incredible. Tasted just like a pour over, probably better than what I could do for a pour over. It was amazing of how good of quality this is coming out of this automatic batch brewer that it basically ruined ever wanting to make a pour over at home, because it's like, oh, select it and it's going to give me an automatic countdown for how long it's going to take. If it's going to take 4 minutes for it to be completely done brewing, it's going to tell me that, and it's going to give me a nice little chime when it's done, indicating that it's done. But the nice thing is, if you select 12 ounces or you want a 10-ounce cup of coffee and you have that blue batch brewer in there from the day before, it's automatically going to tell you you need to switch it over. And then on top of that, it's also going to tell you that you're going to need to switch it from this blue dial over to the green dial. And if you have that wrong basket in you, it's going to remind you before you use, and it's going to remind you to switch that. So it's really foolproof even when it comes to switching the baskets. So if you are brewing and you want to go up to a bigger one and it requires a bigger basket, it's going to tell you that you need to switch out the basket. It's going to tell you to switch that out. You can also control and create your own profile. And what I did was I took the coffee roaster that I use, Archetype Coffee. They did a nice Christmas advent calendar of 4 very, very good coffees, and they gave recipes for that. So I took one of my favorite recipes from that, and I put it straight into this thing and had it brew, and it's honestly probably better than I could pour. It's probably better than most of us can pour in pour overs. Even if you've been doing it for years, this is still probably more capable than you are and more consistent than you are. This heats up pretty instantly and pretty rapidly. It also has a cold brew function, and that was the one thing that was probably the drawback for me on this machine, is the cold brew. It didn't brew cold, if that makes sense. It brewed at like 100 degrees or something like that, at a different level basically, where it wasn't like ice cold, but it wasn't hot. And it took about an hour and a half for like a 12-ounce cup of coffee. And what that is going to give you is it gave me like a 6-ounce concentrate. This is something I need to explore a little further. And then you had to dilute it with some water in order to get that. And one of the things I didn't like it for is specifically because I have this thing called the Bean Seeker by Kalito Roasters, or known as espressooutlet.com, and Joe at Turn Grinders. All this company is kind of the same. And that was like an actual iced dripper. So it would chill the water down and basically make a V60 style. You'd have a V60 style dripper, and it would just drip at a consistent speed for whatever you want and end at a certain amount. And I felt like the iced coffee out of that was substantially better than the cold brew I got out here. However, this is more than passable, but I would still probably prefer something quicker, like a flash brew method, in order to get this down quicker, which if you play around with, and what I will probably do in the future, I haven't had a full amount of testing on this, is what I'll do is I'll create an iced coffee flash brew recipe where I create this to do a flash brew, and I just put some ice in the carafe, and then we're good to go. And then you got a flash brew, which is basically brewing hot water over ice to in a way that it dilutes it to the correct concentration of what you'd want your iced coffee to be. This thing seals incredibly well, so it has incredibly good heat stability and temperature adjustments from this. And I feel like it's probably pretty accurate. I didn't take some kind of thermometer and test it because I'm sure somebody else will do it and has more expensive gear to test it than me, but it did work super well and super easy to adjust everything, user friendly. I gave this to my wife the first time to make coffee when my parents came into town, and she could do it without really any instructions from me. It was so user friendly, and it really guides you through the process of it and a lot of customability to it. I'm excited to see the app as I mess around with it more. One of the drawbacks I have is this adds a lot of water and steam in here, so when you open this up, I do feel like you need to dry this off with a towel because of how much moisture is going to be up here, but it is conveniently designed, and they could have really botched this design depending on how they did it, but it all goes straight into the machine rather than like on the top of it or something. It all just falls down right into the carafe, but once you pull this out, then it's going to drop down, and then eventually it's just going to like kind of pool right here and drop through everything once it's done. $365 is a lot of money, but from what I've heard and from the people at the coffee shop who sold this to me originally, and they did this with no wrong. Fellow accidentally sent this and apologized for it, and then asked for it back because they were pre-production models. But they brewed a lot of this, and they were shocked at how much better this was than the ratio 6 that they had at their personal house, and this just feels really good. The handle does feel like plasticky. The machine, when I first unboxed this in my first video that is no longer available, this does it doesn't feel like a $365 machine. If you have experience with Fellow products, there's a drastic difference between the Fellow Ode that is $345, and that's a flat burr grinder, versus the Fellow Opus, which is a $200 grinder. And the Fellow Opus feels like garbage in comparison to the Fellow Ode. And I would say this feels better than the Fellow Opus, but it's not like to the Ode build quality. A lot of plasticky pieces, but it does look nice, it does look sleek, and it's going to look sick on my coffee bar. And it's one of those things, after I used this for a month, and I had the opportunity just to return it and get fully refunded, and I liked it enough after messing around with it that I did choose to keep it and pay full price for it, which came in about $390 after taxes. This was worth every penny. I feel like this completed and rounded out my setup. And by completed, you should all know by now that completed means I'll let you know in a few months when I buy something else and it changes on there. But completed meaning I have a one and done grinder, the EG1 by Weber Workshops, full review coming soon. That acts as my pour over and my espresso grinder. I have a Rocket R58 as my espresso machine, and then I have automatic pour overs here. That's the only three things on my coffee bar for the foreseeable future until I get a new machine coming up here soon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be like a mind-blowing machine, I think, and really kind of throw a wrench in the coffee industry on what can be expected for a good price. So stay tuned for that. Let me know if you've got this Fellow Aiden. Let me know what you think of it, but phenomenal pour overs. You can't really go wrong. Super user friendly, but you can really customize this to all your heart's likings, and this is going to give you probably a better coffee than you could personally brew yourself. For the average person, I would say there's obviously still some people out there who like really understand, and those are probably the competition style brewers, but I bet if you put this in front of one of them, they would be pretty happy, pretty impressed with it. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.